The situation in the Middle East has suddenly become quite dramatic after today's rapidly developing events. It all started with Iran's IRGC affiliated news agency Fars claiming that the Iranian military struck a US destroyer in the Strait of Hormuz. The US military denied the claim, but Iran's press TV later released video of missiles being fired. Then the UAE claimed one of its oil tankers was hit and set on fire by Iranian missiles. Iran denied this claim. This will be the broad focus of my video tonight. Also, in tonight's video, Australian media broadcasts evidence of the Anthony Albanese government's culpability in the sinking of the Iranian frigate that left more than 100 unarmed sailors dead at the beginning of the Iran-US conflict. So please stay tuned. The Middle East is on the boil once again, and it seems we will soon see the resumption of war between Iran and the US. That's because Iran today claimed it had struck a US destroyer when it tried to escort commercial ships stuck in the Strait of Hormuz. This is how the UK Sky News broadcasts the development, quoting IRGC-affiliated Fars news agency.
And that according to Iran's Navy, it's prevented the entry of US warships into the Hormuz area, according to state television, going on to add that 2 missiles hit a US warship near Jask Island after it ignored Iranian warnings. Now, this is being reported by the Fars news agency, that's state media in Iran. I cannot, at this moment, independently verify that for you. But this is what we're hearing from the Iranians. We've not had any response as yet from the Americans or the White House or Donald Trump on Truth Social. I'm sure we will either get their version of events or a counterclaim in due course. But at the moment, at this time, Iran is claiming via state media, the Fars news agency, that 2 missiles have hit a US warship near Jask Island.
But US Central Command was quick to deny the Iranian claim. It wrote on Twitter, and I quote, "Claim, Iranian state media claims that Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps hit a US warship with 2 missiles. Truth, no US Navy ships have been struck. US forces are supporting Project Freedom and enforcing the naval blockade on Iranian ports." End quote. Another Iranian news agency, Tasneem, later reported that the IRGC had fired missiles in the direction of the US destroyer as a warning to the US warship not to try and cross the Strait of Hormuz. A reporter working for Iran's government-owned press TV reported this from inside the Strait of Hormuz.
I'm reporting to you from the Strait of Hormuz, in the island of Hormuz. A US vessel earlier tried to breach the new order of the Strait of Hormuz, regulated by the Islamic Republic of Iran. And after receiving a serious warning by the armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran, it had to flee. The IRGC basically defined the new maritime zone controlled by Iran. A maritime zone that extends on the southern side. It extends from Mount Mubarak in Iran all the way to Fujairah in the UAE, and on the western side the line starts from at the end of the Qeshm Island, the end of Qeshm Island, all the way to Al Quwain in the UAE. Any vessel that is the region controlled by Iran. Any vessel trying to violate the terms, trying to cross the Strait of Hormuz without receiving authorization from the Islamic Republic of Iran, will be dealt with accordingly. And the incident that happened earlier today to the U.S. vessel is an indication of that fact. Now, the Khatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters Commander, General Ali Abdullahi, also made a statement earlier saying that, reiterating that position, basically, saying that any vessel trying to cross the Strait of Hormuz without being synced with the Iranian authorities will be dealt with severely. And yes, that's basically the latest development.
This came hours after Trump announced that his military will now start escorting all those commercial ships that have been stuck in the Strait of Hormuz due to the blockade imposed by Iran. In his social media post, he had hoped that Iran too would cooperate with him on this so-called humanitarian gesture. After sponsoring the Holocaust of Gaza and Lebanon and launching an illegal war against Iran, this deranged occupant of the White House is projecting himself as some kind of peace angel. And he thinks people would take his crazy utterances seriously.
Iran says US forces will be attacked if they enter the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranian threat followed President Trump's message on social media that the American military would help guide ships through this vital waterway. An estimated 20,000 seafarers on 2,000 ships have been stuck in the strait since the US-Iran war began back in February. We've been hearing from President Trump on Truth Social. He has written, "For the good of Iran, the Middle East and the United States, we have told these countries that we will guide their ships safely out of these restricted waterways so that they can freely and ably get on with their business." He added, if in any way this humanitarian process is interfered with, that interference will unfortunately have to be dealt with forcefully. We had a very quick response from Iran. This statement was released. We warn that any foreign armed forces, especially the aggressive US military, if they intend to approach or enter the Strait of Hormuz, will be targeted and attacked.
While US Central Command denied Iran's claims of firing missiles towards a US destroyer, Press TV released the footage of what it said were missiles being fired in the direction of the US warship. The Iranian government had earlier released a new map of the Strait of Hormuz, marking the areas that ships must not cross without obtaining necessary permission. These maps showed the areas identified by two straight lines, meaning that the passage between the two straight lines was controlled by Iran. Iranian professor from Tehran University, Fuad Izadi, explained the confusion surrounding this Iranian claim.
Talking about escorting ships in this part of the world, realizing that the Strait of Hormuz is in territorial and contiguous waters of Iran and Oman, not territorial waters of United States. U.S. has territorial waters in Gulf of Mexico.
But they don't recognize. But they don't recognize that Oman has any claim on the strait.
No, that's not true.
In this
Iran's
map,
foreign
it doesn't.
minister was in Oman. That's not true. What the map says is that after the statement that you had from Trump, this is a map for Trump, not for Oman. They're saying that don't forget that this part of the world belongs to the coastal states. Iran and Oman are coastal states, not the United States. They engaged in an illegal war against Iran. They blockaded Iran illegally, again, under international law. And they're telling Trump, CENTCOM, anybody who's interested in listening, that if you want to roam around, you roam around, on the other side of these two lines.
Faced with this latest Iranian action, Trump threatened to teach Iran a lesson, i.e., maybe restarting the conflict. He also claimed that his military had sunk several Iranian small armed boats, adding that the US military has successfully escorted at least 2 commercial vessels, a claim that Iran rejected outright.
Breaking news to bring you now. Let's head straight to Truth Social. Donald Trump has posted there on his platform and possibly shedding some light on what exactly is going on in the Strait of Hormuz. He said Iran has taken some shots at unrelated nations with respect to the ship movement Project Freedom, including, he says, a South Korean cargo ship. Perhaps it's time for South Korea to come and join the mission, he says. We've shot down 7 small boats, or as they like to call them, he says, fast boats. It's all they have left. claims Donald Trump. Other than the South Korean ship, there has been, at this moment, no damage going through the strait.
Such is the power of the US military that Trump is now literally begging South Korea to join his armed forces in escorting commercial ships through the Strait of Hormuz. This puts his other claim on downing Iranian speedboats into proper perspective. Elsewhere, the UAE claimed that its Fujairah port was hit by Iranian missiles that caused a fire on an oil tanker. But Iran has denied these claims. Today's developments cast a shadow over the ongoing diplomatic efforts to secure a peace deal. Only recently, Iran has sent a 14-point proposal to the US. Watch the CNN broadcast on the impact on the ongoing diplomatic efforts between the two countries.
Latest now from CNN's Nick Robertson, who's live for us in Islamabad, where those talks have been taking place. Nick, what's the latest that you're hearing about what's happened?
Yeah, really the conflict overspilling from the tensions in the Strait of Hormuz back onto land, back to where it was before the ceasefire went into place almost a month ago, as well as those missiles from Iran hitting the UAE, well, 3 intercepted, as you say, 1 hitting that port of Fujairah. Also in Oman, a tiny seaside hamlet in the peninsula that sticks up into the Strait of Hormuz, that was hit, 2 people injured in a civilian residents there as well. So not just limited to the UAE, but Oman as well getting dragged back into this. As CENTCOM has been saying, they've been able to support what President Trump is calling Project Freedom, and that is an effort for humanitarian reasons to guide commercial vessels that have been stuck now for 2 months inside the Gulf, out through the Strait of Hormuz, out to deliver their goods to the rest of the world. That has involved at least 1 guided missile destroyer, according to CENTCOM, passing through the Strait of Hormuz today and getting into the Gulf. 2 US-flagged commercial vessels making it out, but then a confrontation, according to the Iranian media, IRGC, saying that they confronted with rapid and quick actions preventing a US naval vessel getting into the Strait of Hormuz. At least one Iranian media saying that there were shots fired at the US vessels. Now, CENTCOM has denied that. Now, what does that very complicated and rapidly developing picture look like? It looks like what was conversations about a talks process has turned into significant kinetic activity. The Iranians, though, the ball is in their court to respond to the proposal put to them by the White House over the weekend.
Iran's military action in the Strait today has made it clear that it will not tolerate any intervention in the waterway that it fully controls now. This has placed Trump in a real quandary. Resuming the war with Iran is not the desired option for Trump because it would mean him being forced to seek congressional approval for his illegal military conflict with Iran. And perhaps Iran knows this weakness of Trump.